We are almost at 100,000 subscribers. Please make sure to subscribe right now. Hit that notification bell if you don't get notifications because YouTube's always playing with my channel. Just check my channel throughout the week because I am uploading again and we are doing this thing for real. So make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and do all that stuff. I love you guys, Shift Team.
They clearly need a point guard. Everybody knows it, and Kawhi Leonard privately has clamored for one. It's not that he wants them to get rid of Patrick Beverley, but Patrick Beverley is basically a defensive ace who's small and has to play opposing guard. So they need a point guard that can run a team and can shoot. Patrick Beverley is that defensive energizer bunny that comes off the bench and do it for you. Kawhi Leonard is clamoring for that, but it's important to point this out. Max Kellerman, you got the greatest point guard in the world. If Paul George is alone in the right corner and hits the side of the backboard, while the Denver Nuggets are making one run after another and an onslaught and avalanche is coming their way, and you follow it up with brick after brick after brick, there's nothing a point guard can do that. Kawhi, there's two words that have been used about him: indifferent and selfish. They say the selfishness breeds from the indifference. The fact that you don't seem to prioritize galvanizing the folks around you means that essentially you're more concerned about you than anything else.
What's going on, Shift Team? We're back at it with a brand new video, and today we're talking about Kawhi Leonard's desire for a new point guard. Kawhi has privately let it be known that he would like an upgrade at the point guard position. The team chemistry is off, and that is due to a couple of different reasons. First being that Kawhi Leonard during the Clippers regular season would load manage himself, meaning he would sit out certain games and decide whether or not he wants to participate in team activities. Now don't get me wrong, superstars always get special treatment, but I can also understand why this may rub some players that he may play with the wrong way. I mean, if I'm putting in work and blood, sweat, and tears, that means no days off. And I get special treatment to the extent of free rides or like spoiled food, get to pick on the rookies and stuff like that. I get that. But not playing some games, I mean, to me, that's not respectable. My favorite players never did that, especially to the extent Kawhi goes to. I know some people may disagree because all the action is in the playoffs, and I also respect that opinion. And I mean, all of us can agree that Kawhi Leonard is one of the best players in the league today, but I do not think that he is a great leader, not even a mediocre one. Yes, he is great on the basketball court. Yes, he makes his teammates better on the court, but off the court, that team morale just has to be weird with Kawhi in that locker room, man. I can't imagine someone so reserved and still being the best player on the team, just have that mixture of, you know, stardom and weirdness and just awkwardness. I don't even know how to put it. And that leadership was put to the test during the playoffs this season. And it goes to show that Kawhi is not meant to be a team leader, which further contributes to the shakiness of the Los Angeles Clippers' future. They now know that their best player in Kawhi Leonard cannot be their leader, and their second best player, Paul George, can also not be a leader. And that was apparent after the second round series against the Denver Nuggets. Not only did Paul George's inconsistent play cost the Clippers to lose the 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, but Paul George's reputation league-wide was shattered, including amongst his own teammates. There were reports, and I'm sure that you guys already know this, that the Clippers locker room rolled their eyes when Paul George was trying to give a speech after their playoff exit, and everyone was just not having it. And that's why I think that Toronto Raptors team was so special, because they had a true leader in Kyle Lowry, a player that was with their franchise since 2012. And he took a step back because he accepted the fact that he was no longer the best player on that team, but he was that #1 go-to guy for motivation, for a run, for just getting the crowd hype, the team hype, and just leading them to a championship. And even before the Toronto Raptors, Kawhi was on the San Antonio Spurs, which is filled with NBA legends and just has that mentorship around him where he never had to be the leader until now. And this season proves that he's not meant for that role. Now this brings us to the plethora of options that the Los Angeles Clippers have for themselves at the point guard position. They do have Patrick Beverley, but they can move him in a package deal with Paul George and get a solid point guard for Kawhi Leonard. And who better but Chris Paul on the Oklahoma City Thunder? Bring him back to LA, baby. I feel like Chris Paul's leadership and his aggression on the court and him being the proven facilitator that he is can really complement Kawhi Leonard on the LA Clippers. Now that trade might be awkward for it just to be straight up with the Thunder because that brings Chris Paul back to LA, but I don't know if Paul George wants to go back to OKC after he left them. So there might be a third team involved, and it might happen during the trade deadline, just so the Clippers can have a little bit of insurance just to see if Chris Paul is doing well this season and if he has any injuries or not. And I think Chris Paul is such a good fit, and I think it's very realistic for the Clippers to trade for him, much more rather than the Lakers, because I just think that Lakers situation is way too far-fetched. Now I want to bring up a second team and a couple of options with that team, but I don't think that these situations are likely, but I would honestly love to see this come true. And that team is none other than the Houston Rockets. The Rockets had another exit in this year's playoffs, and they're changing the makeup of their team once again. I think the Houston Rockets can get bigger with Paul George and bring Patrick Beverley back to bring that defensive tenacity that they need. And on the flip side, the Los Angeles Clippers can really benefit from Russell Westbrook's on-court leadership and overall aggressiveness and hunger for greatness. Now, do the Houston Rockets pull the trigger on breaking up their backcourt of James Harden and Russell Westbrook? I don't think so, but you never know. Paul George isn't, the worst. I mean, he's pretty bad, but he's not the worst. To be honest, this trade does favor the Clippers way more than it does the Houston Rockets, but you can't blame me for dreaming about Russell Westbrook's loud and crazy personality mixing with Kawhi's quiet, reserved personality. I just think that'd be cool to experience, but it's probably not likely, so the Clippers might have to look for a different situation, which could be found in free agency depending on their cap situation. A couple of players like Jeff Teague and DJ Augustine, and my personal favorite for the free agent pickup for the Clippers is Rajon Rondo. If he decides to leave the Lakers, they gotta swoop him up. The Warriors gotta swoop up Dwight Howard. I feel like the Lakers are gonna be getting another roster together for next season, but there's gonna be a lot of leftovers, and Rajon Rondo brings that leadership, man. He'll be on Kawhi's ass, and they can get him on a budget too. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think the Clippers should make a big trade and get rid of Paul George, or do you think they should just make a couple small signings and they can get away with it and just focus on rebuilding their chemistry? But that wraps it up for today's video, man. Shift Team, I love you guys. I hope you guys having an amazing week. The Andre Green official song, Green Like Andre, the official music video drops next Friday, the day before Halloween. So stay tuned. I love you guys, and peace.